leading financial service provider, we are proud to be associated with Business Review on Zambia's leading broadcaster, Standard Chartered Bank, here for good.
In an age where internet is making conventional modes of communication almost obsolete, Partners Guide magazine is Zambia's leading media platform for business but also for policy decision makers. On the business interview tonight, we find out how this renowned Zambian business magazine is making inroads beyond the borders of Zambia, but most importantly, on how they are committed to promoting and developing young talent by providing Zambia's youth a platform to have their voices heard on business and economic issues. On the program, also get to find out what the Standard Chartered Bank has for us in their diary. Join Felix Galamkani-Banda on the Motivational Corner. My name is Loisa Mbatha-Kakoma and you're watching Business Review. You're still watching Business Review. Just now I'm joined by Willbern, who is Commercial Director for Partners Guide. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having us, Loisa, or me in this case, should I say.
All right, just to start with, tell us a brief background, what Partners Guide is about, just its main aim.
Okay, so the Partners Guide is a magazine which concentrates on discussing business, economics and developmental issues. In fact, next month it will have been around for 8 years. Basically, the magazine, it's aimed at reaching the key business and policy decision makers, and it's focused around trying to educate those business and policy decision makers around improving policy and improving their businesses and improving the economy at large.
Right, your circulation is about 10,000 copies, and it's quite huge for a Zambian market. What has kept you in circulation? We've seen magazines come and go, and what has kept you in the business?
I mean, I think, one thing that you have to look at is the quality of content, but also matching the content to the audience. And, I think what we've done there is we've really looked at, okay, well, the content that we've got, how can we really make it so that content is indisposable for the people that it's going to, whereas I think maybe other magazines that have tried to come and maybe go, they've got content but they haven't really got a grasp of who their audience is, and whilst their content might be beneficial to some extent, it isn't, let's say, indispensable for the reader, whereas I think with us we really look and see, okay, well, the information that we've got, we need to make sure that this information is vital for the people that are reading it. So it's not a case you just flick through it for a minute and put it back down. People are hanging on to some of these copies for years because they really value the information that's inside.
Yes, so the information is very in-depth, obviously, with expert analysis and with a special focus on, I must say, is it business and economics. Do you think you've made an impact as Partners Guide in helping, promote quality information to help businesses out there?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the magazine, it goes to, amongst other places, to every MP in Parliament. It's in the waiting areas at State House, Cabinet Office. So it gets in front of very influential people, and we've had feedback from the clerks at Parliament before that articles that are within the magazine often get discussed and debated in Parliament, and we've had feedback before that things that have been in the magazine have helped to influence policy decision making that have had an impact on millions of Zambian lives. So it's positive that whilst we might only be producing 10,000 copies, what's in there has managed to reach people to have an impact and an influence on the society at large.
Right. Now, talking about impacting lives, and one of the things, the key things that as Partners Guide you've introduced is the Business Journalist Award, since 2014. But before we talk about that, just how critical is the role of journalists when it comes to promoting and highlighting business and economic issues?
I mean, it's critical really for a number of reasons. Number one, when you look at really inspiring and motivating local entrepreneurs, if there's not enough content within the Zambian market that's celebrating Zambian entrepreneurs, then there's nothing really to act as a role model or inspiration for local entrepreneurs. And when you haven't got that, it might be the case that the youth think that maybe the best way for them to progress in life is waiting to get a job, when in actual fact they've probably got a better chance of being a success if they go into entrepreneurship. And then secondly as well, if you look at business and economics information, it's critical for foreign investors to have a good handle on what's happening in the economy. And I think that's one area of the Zambian media that could be developed a lot, because apart from this show being one good example of that, there is quite a lack of business and economics content within the Zambian media. So it might be a case, let's say, there's a lot of business and economics content in Kenya, for example. The Kenyan media is very developed. I wouldn't necessarily say Kenya is a better place to invest in than Zambia, but because there's more information available to investors, they would have more confidence to invest in Kenya than investing in Zambia, just simply because of the fact there's more information out there. I mean, the reason why we were focusing on young talent was, I think, again, the reason that I highlighted that there's not a lot of business and economics content out there. And I think, one of the important things in journalism is, if you're going to progress and be successful in journalism as a professional in journalism or an entrepreneur in journalism, I think it's really important to specialize. And because of the lack of business and economics content currently in the Zambian media, meant that there probably wasn't a lot of people that were either passionate about or specialized enough in that area to try and develop. So what we thought is, okay, let's find young people that do have an interest in business and economics, that do have a passion in business and economics, and let's see if we can give them the skills to progress and develop a career producing business and economics content in Zambia, and perhaps even developing businesses to produce that same content as well. So we were obviously teaching young people about media law, ethics, professionalism, how to commentate on business and economics issues, but also trying to give them entrepreneurial skills as well, so that they can also develop their own businesses, but also develop their own profile as commentators on business and economics issues.
All right, and has been the response regarding the Business Journalist Awards since last year?
Okay, so we started the initiative in 2014. At the time, we just opened it up for print journalists, because at the time, even ourselves, we were only just in print at that particular moment in time. I think in 2014, we had 104 entries, and the winner was a gentleman called David Ngenda, who he got to even travel to Sweden, courtesy of the Embassy of Sweden and the Swedish Institute. And then when he came back, we actually gave him a job, and he's working for us now as a sub-editor. So he's been with us for about a year. He's been progressing well, and hopefully we can get him to a stage at some point where he can even take over being the chief editor of the magazine. And I think that's a great position for him to be in, because he was only 23 when he won the competition. So we're hoping maybe even in the next two to 3 years he can even become the editor of the magazine. So that's positive for him, for such a young person who's being able to develop his career quickly. And then this year, 2015, we had the competition about close to a month ago now, and we opened it up for photojournalists and broadcast journalists, as well as print journalists as well. So we had an overall winner, which was a young gentleman called Mukuka Mulenga. He's only 20 years old, actually. He's a business graduate. In fact, Standard Chartered provided the topic for him that he wrote about during the final, and I think Standard Chartered are actually interested in doing a couple of things with him moving forward, so that's really positive. We had a lady from Chipata called Diana Ngwenyama winning the broadcast category. So we'll actually be producing a breakfast business show on Radio 2 that she'll be producing and presenting for us. And then we had a young man from Kitwe called Tapson Sibande who won the photojournalist category. And I think photojournalism, it's a kind of a type of journalism which there isn't really any of in Zambia. You have photographers who work with print journalists, but there aren't really any that I've come across that are trying to do both at the same time. So if he can develop his career, then there's probably a lot of business out there for work that he can be doing in that. So that's really positive. Yeah.
Okay, that's great news, and we've seen a lot of this young talent being nurtured, and also it's not just a competition, and they're being given a skills, but also being employed. And it's great news to hear about the 23-year-old who won the last year's, and now he's in employment. What else are you doing as Partners Guide when it comes to helping promoting and improving information flow and delivery about business and economic issues?
Okay, so obviously we've got our magazine, The Partners Guide, which you're aware of, which has been around for close to 8 years now. We've got our website, which is www.pgzambia.com. So pgzambia.com, it's basically aggregating and producing daily business and economics content affecting Zambia. And then within that website, there's also a map-based business directory where the general public is actually able to rate companies' performance across 10 different key performance indicators. As I mentioned, with Diana Ngwenyama, we'll be just about ready to start a business breakfast show on Radio 2. That's likely to start in October, which will be Monday to Friday, somewhere between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning. We've also got a TV series which will be starting around about the same time, so that'll be running on CNBC Africa and ZNBC at the same time, and it's actually going to be the first ever TV series about business in Zambia on an international TV network. And then also on the online side of things, there's a website that we're getting into partnership with called Mwebantu.com, which I think has just become Zambia's most popular website, which is getting hits of in excess of 10 million per month at the moment. So we'll actually be producing a dedicated business channel on that website that people online can obviously be finding out more about business. And because our website is quite new in comparison, it'll be a good way for us to also try and boost our own online traffic for the different things that we're doing online as well.
All right, great stuff happening with Partners Guide, Will and Ray. And just finally, and maybe just getting back to the Business Journalist Award, your last remarks, just your appeal to young people out there who have an interest, in business and economic issues, the future.
All I'd say is, if you want to boost your career in the media, commentating about business and economics issues, number one, it's very important to read or watch and listen to as much business and economics content as possible. Number two, build your professional networks. I think as a reporter on business and economics, it is important to have your own opinion, but it's actually more important to seek out the opinions of experts, because they're going to be more specialized in their field and their opinion is going to be more valid than yours. So seek out experts. And number three, just keep putting your content out there, be bothering commercial partners, maybe even donors as well, media companies, to try and get your content out there. This year's winner, Mukuku Mulenga, he actually applied for last year's competition, but his entry wasn't good enough to reach the top 10. But this year he came back and he's the one who won the competition. So I think it's a case of if you're not good enough one time, it doesn't mean that you're never going to be good enough. Just keep improving your skills and keep putting yourself out there, and eventually, if you don't give up, you'll get there in the end.
Well, Ray, thank you so much for enlightening us on what is happening in the Partners Guide world. Thank you so much, and it's a great job. Hats off to what you're doing.
Thanks, Loisa.
All right.
Okay,
just been watching a special interview where I was talking to Ray Willbern, Commercial Director for Partners Group, looking at what is happening with regard to how they're helping, promoting and enhancing the flow and the delivery of information regarding the business and economic issues. This is Business Review. In a while, we'll be looking at what is happening in the Standard Chartered Diary, but for now, we take a break.
At Standard Chartered Bank, we believe that banking isn't just about helping you save your money. It's about showing you investment solutions that grow it. Speak to our wealth management team today, or visit any of our branches to get started on building a brighter, more prosperous future. Standard Chartered, here for good.